You know, being an Olympian is hard, but it's even harder to be competing in the Olympics and also having to deal with a family tragedy. So apparently, Simone Biles had to deal with a very traumatic family tragedy while she was competing. So let's get into this story. So Simone Biles prevailed with a bronze medal on the balance beam at the 2021 Olympics on Tuesday after the USA gymnastics star not only battled through the strain on her mental health and a case of the twisties, but the recent death of her aunt. It was already an eventful trip to Tokyo for Biles, who suddenly withdrew from the gymnastic team final and subsequently pulled out of the first three apparatus finals before defending her bronze medal on beam Tuesday. It wasn't easy pulling out of all those competitions, Biles told reporters per The Guardian, and people just thought it was easy, but I physically and mentally was not in the right headspace, and I didn't want to jeopardize my health and my safety because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. So my mental and physical health is above all medals that I could ever win. So to be clear, to do beam, which I didn't think I was going to be, just meant the world to be back out there. And I wasn't expecting to walk away with the medal, I was just going out there doing this for me. So Biles told reporters that her aunt on her father's side unexpectedly passed. That was another one. I was like, oh my god, this week needs to be over. Biles coach Cecile Conqueto Landi told People. I asked her, what do you need? And she said, I just need some time. I said, you call me, text me if you need anything. I'll be here, whatever that is. She called her parents. She said, there's nothing I can do from over here. So I'm just going to finish my week. And when I get home, we'll deal with it. And, that's a very on point statement for her to have, right? Because it's almost kind of like the same way that I mentioned in a previous episode, but basically about how her views of finance, right? Where she's a very to the point, I don't want to. I'm afraid of being poor. I want to be frugal, right? It's very analytical. So I think it's a very smart way for her to look at it. It's hey, there's literally nothing that I can do in this moment other than do what I need to do and then go home, right? So the twisties are a common issue gymnasts face that cause a lack of awareness. The 24-year-old Biles said she had only been cleared to compete in the beam, which requires minimal twisting, after getting evaluated by Team USA's training staff. She posted a solid 14.000 score, which slotted her in third behind China's 1-2 finish in Guan Chenchen and Tang Ziqing, respectively. After a handful of uncharacteristic mistakes in her first events, Biles watered down her beam routine and downgraded her dismount from the Biles, a double twisting double tuck, to a double pike. I had nerves, but I felt pretty good, said Biles, who is now tied with Shannon Miller for the most Olympic medals by a U.S. gymnast. I was a little bit nervous for the dismount just because we had to switch it, and I probably haven't done a double pike dismount since I was 12 years old. So it was kind of hard to control that. But to go out there and compete one more time and have everybody's support meant the world. After igniting a discussion about athletes' mental health, Biles quickly became the headlining story of the Games. While some praised Biles for putting her mental wellness first, others criticized her for abandoning her team, which ended up with a silver medal instead of the anticipated gold. I think it should be talked about a lot more, especially with athletes, because I know some of us are going through the same things and we're always told to push through it, she said, but we're all a little bit older now and we can kind of speak for ourselves. At the end of the day, we're not just entertainment, we're humans, and there are things going on behind the scenes that we're also trying to juggle with as well on top of sports. And I perfectly agree with this, right? I completely agree with this. No one knows what someone's actually going to be dealing with. Everyone deals with something different. She's in the limelight. She's basically kind of discussed as basically being the number one, the most elite gymnastics person ever, basically. Right? Especially like for all the ones that are like living right now, apparently she is basically the best to do it. That being said, everyone has different point of views on this, and everyone has the right to their own opinion. But I think it's amazing for someone to end up going out there, representing the country, doing what she needs to do, at least competing at least once in something, right? Regardless of what she's dealing with. I think that's pretty awesome to do, right? Now, it sucks that she didn't get gold, but really that would just basically be more for her kind of thing. It's like, if she were to get gold, that'd be like pretty awesome. But at the same time, she's just dealing with a lot of stuff, and a lot of people have different opinions on that, but she's dealing with a lot of stuff. Because here's the thing. You got to deal with the public pressure. You got to deal with criticism. You got to deal with cultural differences of like we're having like a weird culture war in the United States, right? So you got to deal with that. You got to deal with your finances as well, because a lot of people do not know this, but Olympic athletes don't really get paid. They get a lot of sponsorship money if they're very good or if they have a public presence, but there's a lot of Olympic athletes that don't make enough to really pay their bills, right? And a lot of people may not even like really believe that. Now, for her, she has made very lucrative endorsement deals, right? So she's making a lot of money, and she has the right mindset of living a very frugal life, so that, look, even though she was not able to get gold this time around, there's nothing stopping her from going again, competing in the Olympics again 4 years from now, because she lives her life in such a financially responsible way that she can keep doing what she loves for the long term, right? So she can work on her mental health. She can work on her skill set as well, even though she's basically the best. But she allows her to have more time to work on the things that she needs to work on without sacrificing long-term the amount of medals that she wants to win, right? She could end up competing probably for the next 20 years still, as long as she keeps living the way that she is living financially. Because she lives financially in a way that she wants to prevent herself from ever being poor, right? So that's going to help her out in a very long-term fashion, right? Because you see this with like professional athletes where like they don't get multiple chances because they end up screwing themselves financially, right? If a pro athlete takes care of themselves financially, it frees up the time and also their responsibilities so that they can focus on the main thing that is actually making them money, the main thing that they're actually passionate about, which is their sport, right? Which, I feel like a lot more professional athletes should have her same mentality when it comes to finances. Because if more athletes viewed finances the same way that she does, they could keep competing every year or every chance that they can to improve their skills and keep doing what they love to do and get better and better and better. So if you need help with mastering your money, go check out 40inbox.com to learn the secret to mastering your money so that you could get out of debt, create an emergency fund, and start investing in a very simple to follow process. And we'll see you in future episodes.